Tonight, deadly violence in the US as a car ploughs into anti-racist protesters. And Australian terrorists plead for help from behind bars in Turkey. High-profile support, Ian Thorpe adds his voice to the Yes campaign. And Sally Pearson completes a stunning comeback from injury at the World Titles.
Sally Pearson's got it, can you believe it?
This is NBN News with Natasha Beyersdorf.
Good evening. Chaos and fear have reigned on the streets of Charlottesville in the US state of Virginia after a driver deliberately ploughed into a crowd of protesters. They were demonstrating against a violent white supremacist march when they were targeted. Authorities quickly declared a state of emergency. And a warning, some viewers might find footage in this report disturbing. At speed, a car on a collision course through downtown Charlottesville. In its path, a group of anti-racist protesters.
The car just plowed through.
There are screams as bodies are hurled, flung over the bonnet. The driver ploughed into two cars and can't go any further, so he backs up, leaving behind 20 people injured and a 32-year-old woman dead.
It sounds like a bomb. And when it comes down to this, so and when it hit hard. And people just start flying in the air and people scattering all over the place.
It's like two or three other cars and people in between the cars.
Minutes later, the car was spotted and the driver, named as 20-year-old James Alex Fields, was taken into custody and charged with second-degree murder. The protesters were rallying against a group of Unite the Right activists who'd swamped the Virginia city for a white nationalist demonstration. Earlier in the day, there'd been angry clashes, fistfights and street scuffles. As hundreds of people, some wearing helmets, carrying shields and Confederate flags, came toe-to-toe with counter-protesters, waving placards including Black Lives Matter. The governor declaring a state of emergency while the heavily armed National Guard moved in to help police de-escalate hostilities.
This event has been declared an unlawful assembly.
Tensions began to simmer overnight when hundreds of white marchers armed with torches chanted their way through Virginia University.
You will not replace us.
Protesting the removal of a statue of Confederate General Robert E. Lee, one of a number of Confederate monuments slated for removal across the United States.
I think it's a historical monument and it should stay where it's at.
I'm glad it's getting torn down. The Confederate War, the Confederacy, the Civil War is not something to be memorialized.
The governor had a message for the out-of-towners he blames for the violence.
And I have a message to all the white supremacists and the Nazis who came into Charlottesville today. Our message is plain and simple. Go home. You are not wanted.
But the former leader of the Ku Klux Klan says their inspiration is the president.
We're going to fulfill the promises of Donald Trump. That's what we believed in. That's why we voted for Donald Trump, because he said he's going to take our country back.
President Donald Trump is under fire for his delayed response to the violence and because he didn't single out the white supremacist groups.
We condemn in the strongest possible terms this egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence on many sides. On many sides.
2 more lives were lost when a police helicopter monitoring the rally crashed in a wooded area southwest of Charlottesville. The white nationalists have told their people to disperse, but say they'll be back. The fight is not over. One of Australia's most wanted terrorists has begged the federal government for help months after being arrested for planning attacks targeting Australian citizens. ISIL recruiter Neil Prakash has spent the last 10 months behind bars in Turkey. But now the 27-year-old is trying to get citizenship for his 2 children. The Foreign Affairs Minister has confirmed Prakash is receiving basic consular assistance. Olympic swimming champion Ian Thorpe has joined the campaign to legalise same-sex marriage in the lead-up to the postal vote on the issue. It comes as Labor declares it will continue to campaign for marriage equality even if there's a no vote.
A famous face at Sydney's City to Surf run.
There you go, 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
And now a face of the the marriage equality campaign.
Love this one.
The former Olympic swimmer is one of the most high-profile Australians to add their voices to the Yes campaign. Ian Thorpe doesn't like the postal vote, but is encouraging all Australians to have their say.
You've got 11 more days up until the 24th to register to make sure that your vote counts, so do it now.
Labor's also opposed, but is pushing for a yes vote.
We're going to participate. We're not going to abandon LGBTI Australians. We're going to stand with them and we're going to campaign as hard as we can for yes.
If the result is no, Shadow Attorney General Mark Dreyfus says Labor will still try to legislate for same-sex marriage if elected.
Absolutely. It's Labor policy. It's clear Labor policy.
The Prime Minister says he expects a participation rate of above 50%, but some are concerned it could be much lower than that, and are questioning what that would mean for the legitimacy of the results.
It's not going to have much worth if it's only 10 or 15% of people participating.
We think that there can be a broad-based, fair a poll here.
Energy Minister Josh Frydenberg says he'll vote yes, but won't campaign outside his electorate.
In terms of campaigning on this issue, I've got a bigger fish to fry, and that is energy policy, and that will be my priority in the weeks and the months ahead.
Kerry Yaxley, NBN News.